Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa sallallahu wa sallama ala Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Allahumma la ilma lana illa ma 'allamtana innaka antal alimul hakim. Allahumma 'allimna ma yanfa'una wanfa'na bima tu'allimuna wa zidna min fadlika 'ilman wa ta'liman innaka 'ala kulli shay'in qadir. ربنا آتنا من لدنك رحمة وهيئ لنا من أمرنا رشدا. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. A very, very warm welcome to all of you here to what will hopefully be our first of daily meetings between us, inshallah, with Cambridge Muslim College's Ramadan program, which we're starting today with this class today on Surah Yaseen. I think many of you, depending on where you are in the world, you might have started Ramadan or be just on the verge of starting. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless all of you and your families and your loved ones, and to give you all a beautiful, enriching, spiritually alive, holy month. And ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, by the blessing of this month, by blessing of our time together, to keep afflictions and difficulties and illnesses and pain away from us, away from you, away from your loved ones, and to make this a very blessed and beautiful month. Just a few small pointers before we start. Obviously, it's our first time now in this series of our live events. Should there be any technical issues in the middle of this presentation, if anything gets cut off or anything of that sort, you'll probably find the instructions you're looking for if you go to Cambridge Muslim College's Twitter feed. If you can go to Twitter and search for Cambridge Muslim College, or you can go to the website of Cambridge Muslim College and see a link to the Twitter account. That's should we have any technical issues today. Please do, although we'll be starting quite a solemn, hopefully, subject, but before we start, as we're starting, if you'd like to tell us where you are in the world, I'm sure it'll be very interesting for people to see where everyone is from. And please do, share the information about the college's program with your families, loved ones, colleagues, and so on. That's basically it. I think we should commence, really. Let me just Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Okay, so we're looking together, inshallah ta'ala, in these next, hopefully, inshallah, 5 sessions. We have the very ambitious, if you like, goal of studying a careful, inshallah, reflective study, verse by verse, of one of the really great, really oft recited chapters of the Holy Qur'an, a surah which has been dubbed the heart of the Qur'an by the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and this is Surah Yaseen. And oops, I pressed the wrong button. 1 second. There you go. Technical problems right there. But that was more of a human problem. Human problems are harder to solve sometimes. Inshallah, we'll get smarter. There you go. Now I pressed the right button. So just a very quick introduction before we have really a lot to cover in this our time. So I do want to start very soon with the surah and let the surah explain to us its goal, its objectives, what it wants to convey, as opposed to my giving a long introduction about the chapter. But I am very keen to give you an introduction to the mode of study, or the way we'll be looking at this together. I intend this to be a fair reflection of the classical discipline, what I call, of Tafseer. Tafseer in the Arabic language, which was used, it's an Arabic word that means to uncover or to unveil. And this was the name given to the discipline of studying the Qur'an carefully, as scholars sought to unveil and reveal the meanings, the objectives, the lessons, the guidance of the Book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But there's a very particular way that scholars went about this, especially as this discipline called tafsir matured over the centuries. And to give you a taste for what the scholars of tafsir wanted to give us, it's important to remember what the Qur'an is giving us. So just a brief introduction to the Book of Allah as a whole and its relationship to us from the words of the Qur'an itself. Here's a verse I often like to start with. It's a verse in Surah Zumar, chapter 39, just 3 chapters after Surah Yaseen, the one we're going to be studying together. This is a verse in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes the book. And it's a very powerful, emotive, visual description. And it really sets the scene for our study. And it also, as you'll see, will set the scene to the content as well of what we'll be studying today. How does God describe his book? So let's have a look. This translation is by Arbery, A.J. Arbery, the Quran interpreted. I'll explain why I choose him in just a little bit. The very first word, what do you need to know about the Quran? In this verse, in Surah Zumar, what is the most important thing to know about the Quran is God. Allahu Nazzala, Allah, the majestic, the perfect, the creator. He is the one. That's the most important thing to know about the book. He is the one who sent down, and look at these descriptions. In Arabic, ahsan al-hadith, the best thing to be talked about, the best thing to be conveyed, the most excellent content, we could say. As a book, kitaban. This next phrase might not be so meaningful perhaps in Arbery's rendering. What the Arabic word for this is mutashabih, and what it means here is every part of the book resembles the other part. And what that means is all of the book is captivating, it's stunning, it's gripping. It really pulls your attention. All of it is marvelous. All of it is glorious. All of it is splendid. This is something about the pull of the book. And the last one, Ahsan al-Hadith, was about the content. Then it says Mathani. And what it means is it repeats its basic messages time after time, again and again. What does that mean? It's a book that's not coming to give you something novel. Facts, strange 50 fab facts about something. It's a book that's coming to change you, and change doesn't happen overnight. And so the book will not leave you, it will stay with you, and it will say things in a different way, sometimes through a story, sometimes through an example, sometimes with a threat, sometimes with a beautiful promise. Everything so it can reach every part of you and try to convince you that this is a good thing for you to be doing. So it's a book that's educational. It's there to help you, to change you, to be your companion. So you can already see some very powerful descriptions here. The most important one, God, Allahu, sent down, Nazzala, Ahsan al-Hadith, the best of content, Kitaban, Mutashabihan, all of it is equally gripping, stunning, captivating. Mathani, it's coming at you from different angles to really convince you of what's good for you. But there's more. There's more. What is it? Its effect on the soul. It says, تَقَشَعِرُّ مِنْهُ جُلُودُ الَّذِينَ يَخْشَوْنَ رَبَّهُمْ. People who in their hearts is deep respect for God. And we're going to see these people in today's passages. This book doesn't just give them some facts in a gripping way that's educational. It moves their whole being. It really leaves its imprint on the heart, and the ripples of that effect can be felt on their skins. So it's describing the most powerful experience, the most powerful, spiritual, all-encompassing experience. And then what happens? Then their skins and hearts soften to what? The remembrance of who? Of God, the one from whom it all began. The book is from God and to God, and it's flowing through you. And if you enter into that flow, it will take you back to Him. And so I hope you can see the most powerful visual imprint, indication of what the revelation is. And the Quran celebrates itself as this powerful, indescribable experience of being with God for those whose hearts are open to it and connect to God through it. And that was the early wonder of the Holy Quran, that the enemies of the Prophet ﷺ, the friends of the Prophet ﷺ, all agreed to one thing, that what he recited had an effect on them that was not quite describable. That's why the enemies of the Prophet ﷺ told people, oh, this is sorcery, it's magic, don't listen, because they knew that once you listen and you understand the imagery, the style, the force, it grips you. And if the hearts are open, when it grips you, it takes you back to your Lord. That's the guidance of God. He guides with it whomever he wills. Why do I want to start with this? It's because the overriding interest of scholars of tafsir has been to try to explicate, to explain how this experience arises. How the book is not simply a two-dimensional book of do and don't do, and judgment and afterlife and heaven and hell. It's not just something you simply translate into an equivalent meaning, but the point is the way it's being told, the way it's speaking to your heart sometimes, speaking to your mind sometimes, pulling on your emotions sometimes, teasing your motives sometimes. We want to feel. We don't just want to know, we want to feel. And that's why the overriding interest of this discipline has been around language, because the Quran celebrates its language and has made its language the key to its experience. Qur'anan Arabiyyan la'allakum ta'qilun. Allah celebrates. It's an Arabic text, an Arabic recital. We'll think about the word recital in just a little bit, that it might really speak to your minds. And so that's why, as we'll be doing this study together, which I want to be, like I said, reflective of a lot of the discourse of the great scholars of Islam over the centuries, it's always reflecting on this word. Where does it come from? What did it mean to the original Arabs? What can we get out of it? And this construction, this sentence, where's the emotive force? Where's the pull? What's it emphasizing? And so as much as we can in the short time together, just to get a feel for that. And hopefully as we do that, not only will we get a grasp of the meanings of this incredible surah, Surah Yaseen, and not only hopefully get a grasp which we can take away to our own recital and to have a more in-depth experience, as this verse on the slide is indicating, but hopefully also will give us some keys, some tools, some ideas of how to interact with the book that we can then take away to our own recital and our own Quranic study, i.e. to our study of other parts of the Holy Quran. When it comes to sources, I will not, because I want this to be accessible to everyone, people who know Arabic, people who know no Arabic, people who have previous studies, people who have no previous studies, as much as possible. And inshallah, we will find a middle path that will speak to everybody, God willing, and with the help of Allah. Then I will not make the explanation cumbersome with names of scholars and names of books and authorities. And these books often tease out, because it's a scholarly discipline, they'll tease out options. We could interpret it grammatically this way, you could interpret it grammatically that way. There is this, they will tease out linguistic options. As much as possible, we will minimize those. We'll stick to the clear meanings, the meanings that have been preferred by the very great authorities in the field. We'll not go into many options and could be's, and we'll also not go into naming lots of scholars and figures, and do our best just to focus on the text. So all I'll say right now in terms of sources, a main source for me is the Tafseer of Shaykh al-Islam, Abu Saud Effendi, who was the great head mufti, Shaykh al-Islam of the Ottoman Empire, who died in the 10th Islamic century. And also the research of my own teacher, Sheikh Ali Hani, who's undertaken quite an encyclopedic research, if you like, of the sources of tafsir and his own preferences and compilation of them. So that's just a word on the sources. In terms of this translation, once we start, I'll have just Arabic and English translation. The English translation, I will base myself on the translation of A.J. Arbery. I won't tie myself to it, but it'll just be there on the slide so you can have a look at it. And you're most welcome and encouraged to read other translations as well. You might enjoy comparing translations after hearing our discussion to see different ways people have tried to capture the dimensions that we'll be trying to cover in our time together. And the reason why I like Arbery is just because Arbery is someone who tries to be quite literal. He doesn't try to interpret a lot. He tries to really represent the Arabic as it is. And that suits our purposes, as we'll be trying to link the Arabic to meanings. And the last thing before we can really jump in and dive in is, of course, just the surah itself, Surah Yaseen. This really is one of the most often recited surahs of the Holy Qur'an in many, many parts of the Muslim world. It's considered just a standard recital after Fajr. It's your daily Quranic portion, is Surah Yaseen. The Prophet ﷺ, in a hadith narrated in Tirmidhi, he said, everything has a heart, and the heart of the Qur'an is Yaseen. And the scholars say the reason for this is it's a medium length surah, if you like, on the shorter end. It says 6 pages in the current Mus'haf. They say it's a surah which offers a beautiful, forceful presentation of the most basic usul, or the pillars of the religion. It transports you to resurrection, judgment, the final abode. It establishes the case, if you like, the veracity of the Qur'an, the prophethood, the oneness of God, the duty of showing thanks to the one who gives you gifts, and provides arguments and proofs from the universe and from the human soul. So it kind of encapsulates the themes whose veins pulsate through the whole holy book. So it's a very beautiful, forceful summary of the core points of belief, establishing the core teachings of the Prophet ﷺ. And that's why you'll see it starts with the most powerful affirmation: you are the Prophet. And it's coming to confirm the most basic teachings that he's brought. The Prophet said ﷺ in a hadith narrated in Abu Dawood, "Iqra'u Yaseen ala mawtakum." Recite Surah Yaseen over literally your dead ones, which most scholars interpreted to mean those who are dying, those who are on their deathbeds, those who are in their final sickness. Sit next to them, just recite Surah Yaseen to them. And some scholars say that the reason for this is because it provides such a forceful confirmation of the Prophet ﷺ and his message, and the most beautiful imagery of the whole map of what the Prophet has brought. It's the beautiful summary for someone to take in as they leave this world, to confirm their own heart with the heart of the Holy Book. And some scholars say, it's narrated by Imam Ahmad, he said from some of his teachers felt, when you recite Surah Yaseen over someone who's dying, it eases the passage of their soul. And this kind of ties to one other thing that Surah Yaseen has classically been associated with, which is, if you like, if I can call it, the fulfillment of needs. Traditionally, it's had names like Al-Mu'imma, Al-Mudafi'a, Al-Qadiya, the surah that covers your needs, wards off afflictions, fulfills, again, needs. Some scholars have said Yaseen is for what it's recited. So you'll find in the Muslim world, in special times, in special places, this let's come together and recite Yaseen, recite Yaseen. I had a teacher many, many years ago who said when he would go to exams, he would ask his wife to sit home and read Surah Yaseen while he would be in the exams. And so the point is just to say that Surah Yaseen has this connection, almost like the Fatiha, of a global turning to God for his help and his assistance in your needs. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala a'lam. Perfect. So in terms of how we're going to break this down, and we are ambitious, so we'll see how it goes with time. There you go. We're already quite a little bit into our time here. Today we're going to, hopefully, we'll do what we can. We've done this, our introduction, and this first section I've labeled it the message and the messenger. And it's this very forceful introduction to the messenger and his message in 12 verses or 13 verses. And this really encapsulates the themes that you'll find throughout the surah. In the second lesson, we'll look at, inshallah, this section I've labeled it the earnest caller. it's this beautiful story of a man who wanted good for his people and the way he spoke to them. Sometimes they call this man Sahib Yaseen, the person of Yaseen. A beautiful story. In session 3, inshallah, hopefully, if we stick to our plan, a beautiful survey of the universe and how it relates to us and how we reflect on it. In lesson 4, what I've called the rising, and it speaks about the resurrection, the judgment, and some imagery and scenes from that. Lesson 5, I call it concluding reflections. It actually is a concluding view where the surah looks back at its themes again. And it ends just like it started, with the most powerful, forceful, conclusion to its themes. Inshallah ta'ala, it's quite ambitious. We'll do our best. And inshallah, as Maghrib gets later, we might have slightly longer sessions just to make sure that we can get all of this done. So bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, and Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, seeking assistance, the blessings, the witness of the most beautiful name of God. This is the prayer, Bismillahi, seeking the blessings and help of that beautiful name, the owner of that name, God himself, who's full of mercy and compassion. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. We start and we ask him to help us and to guide us and to teach us through his holy book, and not let our own deficiencies, if you like, hold us back from comprehension. Good. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. We start with the first verse. It's the verse on which the name has been given to this chapter, and it's simply what? 2 letters of the Arabic language, Ya and Seen. Yaseen. That's how you would recite it. So Surah Yaseen is one of a number of chapters in the Holy Qur'an that don't start with words but start with letters. Most of you would have heard of these. Alif, Lam, Mim. Sometimes Alif, Lam, Ra. Sometimes Kaf, Ha, Ya, Ain, Sad. Sometimes Ha, Mim. And so these are known as, in Arabic, as al-huruf al-muqatta'a. They're just cut up letters. They're just letters, the names of letters. And there's a lot that scholars have said about these letters. But the most common meanings and explanations the scholars give to these basically are 2. The first of these is that it alerts the listener. Because if you're about to say something important, you might want to bring someone's attention. Hey, listen, shh, listen to me. And so if you imagine these early Arabs who aren't used to such a form of address, when the address comes and the Prophet recites, Yaseen, it's a very almost mysterious way to start. And so it's just to grab their attention, saying, what do you want to say now? So it's, first of all, it's very interesting Quranic form of alert. Listen to this now. The second thing is what many scholars have talked about, is it harkens back to the Quran's everlasting challenge, because the Quran's everlasting challenge is, this book is from God. How do you know this book is from God? Because it speaks to the heart like no other book does. It mesmerizes and encaptures the soul like no other book does. And if you think not, write something just like it. And so that was its everlasting challenge to the early Arabs to whom the Quran came. It first said, write something just like it. And then later on said, okay, just write a chapter like it. And these Arabs fought wars, they died, they fought battles instead of doing anything like this. And so their history is testament to the fact that they felt they couldn't do this. And rather, they felt the easy way was to either kill the Prophet ﷺ, boycott his family, and tell people he was a sorcerer. All of that was easier than what the Quran was saying. Write something like it and let's see. Does it hurt? Does it speak to the soul like this book? Does it mesmerize through its words like this book? How does it harken back to the challenge? Because it starts with letters of their language. Alif, Lam, Mim. These letters are the letters of your speech. These words aren't coming from some other, the composition of these words are from the same composition of your words. So why don't you match it then? Why don't you do something like it then? It's the very same letters of your language. And that's why the scholars say almost every single time a surah starts with these letters, the very next statement is always about this is God's book. This is the great book. This is the book which has come down. Tying the beginning, this powerful alert with the letters of Arabic, with the book to show this idea. Yaseen, the great book. And you'll see this as a general theme throughout. The last thing I've added is this thing called mystery. There's no doubt people have still tried to look for other indications of why these letters, for example. So classically, many scholars of Tafseer said, actually, if you gather all the letters that come in the beginning of surahs, they are, fascinatingly for students of Tajweed, they are half the letters of Arabic and half of the letters of every group of Tajweed letters. Tajweed is a science that was developed later after Islam to discuss and categorize letters in terms of the qualities of pronunciation, qualities of enunciation, qualities of how the breath moves in them. And these are exactly half the letters of every category. And that was quite remarkable because, again, this study of letters did not ever arise until after Islam. Some modern people have used mathematical models to see, well, do these specific letters relate to their specific surah? So there's an ongoing interest, if you like, on further ideas about the letters. But the main thing the scholars sought to emphasize was it's reflecting the Quranic challenge and always coming to magnify then the next statement, which is the statement of the magnitude and of the book itself. Some reports, some scholars felt that Yaseen was one of the names of the Prophet ﷺ, and there's a debate amongst scholars about that. Good. Now we start the oath. Wal Qur'anil Hakim. So the wa over here just means I swear by. It's the wow of oath. I swear by. And so when God speaks through his, obviously the authority and majesty of God, he doesn't need to swear. He's God, he's speaking. But when God swears, when the Quran swears these oaths, you get the feel for, wow, this is a very, very emphatic statement that's about to be made. I, God, swear. Now, in the sacred law, Muslims are only permitted to swear by God. We're not permitted to swear by other things because the only one whose name is holy and to be sanctified and to be venerated through the oath swearing is the name of God. But God himself in the Holy Book swears by things. And the things he swears by are incredible things, incredible signs. I swear by the sun, I swear by the moon, I swear by the day, by the night. God swears by great things in his creation. And so whenever you see a Quranic oath, you always want to think of three things. Number one, what's he swearing by? Because this thing is really great. Number two, what's he swearing to emphasize? Because that thing is really emphatic. God is saying, I swear that that's the case. And number three, what's the connection between the two? That's part of this linguistic interest in Quranic studies, that everything in the Quran is perfectly in place. So every oath perfectly connects to what it's there to verify. So what's the connection? Three things you can take home to think about with Quranic oaths. The thing sworn by is a great sign of God, so think about it. Try to find the sentence the oath is emphasizing. And lastly, reflect on the connection between these. The word Qur'an in Arabic, all of its root forms of qara'a, qariya, istiqra, all these root forms talk about gathering, bringing together, unifying. You could also say preserving, bringing it into one place. And qira'a came to mean in Arabic recital. So the Quran is the recited text. And this is the most famous and the most well-known of the names of the Holy Book, because the Holy Book has many names. But the most emphatically repeated of them are the names Qur'an and Kitab, both of which mean that which has been brought together, kept together. Qur'an meaning through recital, Kitab meaning through writing. Why is the Qur'an the most oft used name of the Holy Book? Because it points to its most fascinating phenomenon of the Holy Text, which is what? This book has been kept together. Nothing has been infiltrated into it. Nothing has been taken away from it. It has been kept together through what? Primarily the medium of recital. And that's why the Qur'an has always been a recited text. You don't read the Qur'an like you read the paper. You scan it over your mind and then it's gone. Why not? Because we just saw earlier on today, it's this entire full body actually experience. And for that experience to occur, you use your limbs, your tongue, your lips, your throat, your lungs, your breath, your ears. And if you're reading from the Quran in front of you, then your eyes. And from that beginning of these most important senses of yours, which completely bring your concentration into focus, then the rest of the body joins in, as we saw, the skin and the other things that happened. So the most powerful thing about the book we have to take away from this, Quranic study is not about, oh, I've read that surah, I know what it's saying. That's not Quranic study. Quranic study is saying, oh, I grasp it better. Let me take that insight and inform my recital with that insight. And then the recital grows, the insight grows through recital. And we are a nation of recital. The Prophet ﷺ insisted on recital in prayers. And after the Prophet ﷺ died, the Quran spread through the earth through circles of recital. And so the wonder of the book is the wonder of recital. Through our medium and our engagement and our connection with our breaths and our tongues and our lips and our being, this book is preserved and we pass it on to those after them. And it's the amazing wonder of the book that's through us, Allah is preserving it on to those who come after. And that's why the best of you, what did the Prophet say, Salam, those who study the Quran and teach it to others. Because whoever studies the Quran and teaches it to others are part of this incredible chain. On and on. Through us, God is honoring us by transmitting this book to those who come after. And God is saying in this book, I swear by that incredible recital. Not only, and in addition to the fact that it's this incredible recital, which is Yaseen, composed miraculously of the very same letters of human speech, but with this incredible effect, it's also Hakim. It's a book with the most incredible, you could say, content. Hakim is translated as wisdom. Wisdom, scholars say, is knowing things as they are and putting everything in its place. Someone who's wise, he knows when to speak, when to be quiet, when to give gifts, when to accept gifts, when to be tough, when to be soft. Someone who manages all forms of interaction well, we call the person wise. The origin of the word hikmah comes from the word hakama, which in Arabic is used to refer to the reign of an animal. Why? Because it's about preventing. They say hikmah, its words are about prevention. Why? You prevent the animal from straying, and so you guide it on its correct course. Hikmah is about not going off into the wrong directions, if you like, but knowing things really as they are, putting things really in their place. And this Quran is the absolute Hakim. It puts everything in its place. Every command is where something really needs to be done in your life, for your sake, for your society, for your community, for your planet, for those who come after you. Everything is measured. Everything you stay away from because it's bad for you. It gives you the universe, the total context of the universe. So the universe has its place. I know how I relate to the sun in my prayer, how I relate to the moon in my fasts, how I relate to the trees, the animals. It puts you in your place. So it's the absolute text, which is Hakim. Everything is in its place. And it's another related word, muhkam. It's masterfully put together. Everything is perfect. Everything is measured. Every oath matches what it's sweared for. Every word, it's coming because it's needed. It's the most perfect composition, putting everything in its place. So it's this incredible oath by the book. You can see already the Quran's magnitude is part of the subject matter of this surah. As you said, it's confirming the messengerhood of the Prophet ﷺ, which is why it goes straight. I swear by the holy book. Remember we said every oath is there to confirm something. So all of this now is under the force of oath. And what's it saying? You are a messenger and you're on an incredible path. Look at these forms of emphasis. One is the oath. Second is this word inna, which in Arabic means verily doubt it not. You normally say it to someone if there's some doubt or hesitation. No, doubt it not, verily. Then you have la, which is also a word for emphasis, very hard to convey. Aubrey's put truly to cover both terms. You could, there's actually two terms though. Doubt it not, verily, surely you. Then you have this phrase from the messengers. Aubrey's done it among the envoys, those who were sent. Why is that quite an emphatic statement? Allah's not just saying you are a messenger, but you're from a well-known group. There's people who have come. You're not something new or mysterious. You're part of something known, and you are clearly from them. So it's emphatic. There's nothing strange. The signs are known. Whoever knows those signs will see them all in you. And there's something scholars mention in the Arabic you can't really convey in the English, is what we call a noun sentence. That there's no verbs in this sentence at all, and that's a form of emphasis. We can't, in English, have a sentence without verbs. We say, I am, I was, I will be. But in Arabic, I can just say, I teacher, and there's no verbs in it. So that's a form of emphasis, because it means it's a timeless statement. And on top of all of that, there's the incredible oath. I swear by this incredible, majestic recital that's perfect and guiding, you surely, without any doubt whatsoever, are definitely from those group of people who were sent by God. Why all this emphasis? Well, who are the people denying? It's the others, the opponents, the Arabs of Quraysh, which I didn't mention earlier as well. Surah Yaseen is a Meccan surah. It's coming in the Meccan phase of the Prophet's mission, alayhi salatu wasalam, where he's preaching to a people and he's the minority in the town, and the strong ones in the people are doing everything in their force to silence him and saying all kinds of things. So they're the objective of all the emphasis, but yet God isn't speaking to them. He's speaking to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Why? Because they're not worth speaking to. The emphasis is if they want to listen, but it's not that God is somehow needs to convince them. They're not that important. That's going to come again. We're going to see this in a little bit. It's this might of the Qur'an, if you like. But if they want to know, I swear, you definitely, surely, you are from the messengers. I always said, look for a connection, and the connection is clear, right? When Allah swears by the Qur'an to say you really are from those sent, what's the connection? This book is a sufficient proof. Whoever understands, whoever opens their heart to the majesty of this recital, and whoever opens their heart to the most perfect teachings of this book, cannot conceivably doubt that you are from the messengers. And so you can see already, that's why I call this section the message and the messenger. Allah is saying this message is enough. This recital is enough. It's enough proof, whoever observe it, that they should know who you are. And that's the entire section from here to verse 12 will just be about this theme. If people don't know who you are, it's because they don't understand how to benefit from the book. And why can't they benefit from the book? We're going to see, because they're prisoners to their own lusts. Otherwise, the matter is too clear now. The matter is too obvious. That's the forceful commencement of this chapter. It says something more under the power of that oath, which is what? You are upon. And we're going to see the scholars always want to really think about the imagery of everything. You are upon a path. You know, to be upon a path means you're really firm on it. You're not like on the borderline. You're not just half on and half off. You are really established. You're fixed. Your feet are firm. You are firmly footed upon a vast path. So sirat in Arabic, in the Quranic parlance certainly, is used to refer to the entirety of religion. And there's another path, word also translated path, sabil, which are seen as the pathways of religion. There are many pathways to God. But the sirat, we say in Surah Al-Fatiha, guide us to the straight path. It's the path to God, the vast, broad path of religion that God has sent. And this is imagery, of course. We'll think about the imagery. Let's look at this word mustaqim. This path is, it's straight. And what's the idea or the imagery of a straight path? It's like any straight road, right? It's the shortest road to your destination. The straightest road is the shortest road. The straightest road is the road that there's no bendings and nooks and crannies you might get lost upon. It's clear. Walking upon it is a very clear road. A straight road is one that takes you to a destination. It's not just walking for walking's sake. This straight road will take you to God. This road, if you walk on it, at the end of it, you will find Him. You'll find your success. And so it's this imagery of what it means to tread in your life in a clear direction. And what we do in the Surah Fatiha, every day is, please show us that road and make us firm on it. Help us to tread straight and true. Because the road is clear. All that's left is, are we going to tread it? And we'll see some imagery around that. There's one point of Arabic that's quite fascinating. Let's see if we can convey this. It's this phrase, siratin mustaqimin, is a bit different from in the Surah Fatiha, we recite al-sirat al-mustaqim. So in Surah Fatiha, we say, guide us to the straight path. So the Quran makes a straight path definite when it's talking about, that known path, the path of God. We want God's path, guide us to it. Over here, though, it's become indefinite. In Abri, because I said he's quite literal, he's conveyed the indefiniteness of it with a, you are on a straight path. Now think about it. Is the Quran saying there's actually many straight paths? The Prophet Muhammad is on one of them. That's not at all what we're going to see now in the force of this message which is coming. And so what the scholars of Tafseer do, and we're going to see this again and again and again, very often the Quran makes things indefinite, not to mean one among many. Therefore, things become indefinite for another rhetorical purpose. And that rhetorical purpose you'll get from the context. And often it means plenitude and might and greatness, or it could mean paucity and smallness. For example, let's think about English. If you see a rich man, if I say to my friend, that guy's got money. Now, many people have money, but I don't mean he's got money. I mean he's got lots of money, ridiculous amounts of money. So sometimes when you want to say, even in English, something is great, you say it by not adding any adjective, but leaving it open. He's got money. That dude's got muscles. Not just everyone's got muscles, but you mean incredible muscles I can't even describe. I can't even give adjectives to. That guy's a leader of such a sort that I can't even give an adjective to. Might sound like I'm exaggerating, but we do this in English and it happens in Arabic. So what the scholars all say here, or what the scholars who talk about this point will say here, is the sirat is indefinite to show the greatness of the Prophet's path. You are on, if you want to translate this, a tremendous path. So it becomes then, if you want to bring the whole construction together, I swear by that tremendous recital full of wisdom, that verily you surely are from those who were sent, and you are firmly footed upon an incredible path that goes straight to its destination. And that's why some scholars like Shaykh al-Islam Abu Sa'ud say this indefiniteness is showing that the Prophet ﷺ has the best path. He's from the messengers and he has the greatest path. It's bringing out something of the virtue and rank of this Prophet, alayhi salatu wasalam. A very powerful introduction. And really this is the theme around which we're going to be moving. 1 second, we just want to get a grasp of time. I ideally did want to stop a little bit at the end to give some room for questions. Let's see. Maghrib's at 10 past 8 in England. I don't think any of you are fasting. So what I'll do, with your permission and with apologies from me, I'll make sure I'll give you enough time prepared to break fast, inshallah, from next week. Let's just go for another, with your permission, 10-15 minutes or so. And then I apologize, we'll just do 5 minutes for questions. And don't worry, if you want, you can keep the questions writing. We will record them, and inshallah, we'll do our best to address them. Bi'ithnillahi ta'ala. Thank you all very much. Just want to get a bit more done. I did say we're a bit ambitious in how we've broken down the verse by verse breakdown of our coverage. Just a second. Good. Then the verse goes back. This is very, very beautiful, actually, how the surah does this. Let's look at the words. Tanzil. Again, Abri, because I like him, he's very literal here. He translates it very literally, the sending down. So the word tanzil literally means sending down. It's the verbal noun of nazzala, which has this emphatic idea. For students of Arabic, we call it a form 2 verb. It has this emphatic, really sent down, which sometimes means sent down in many times, because the surahs came down in many coming downs. And some passages, no, it's just the forceful emphasis. It really has been sent down. So just this emphatic, it's this thing that's been sent down. Now, tanzil is being used to refer to the Holy Qur'an. The Qur'an is not sending down. The Qur'an is the thing which was sent down. And sometimes in Arabic, we'll see this again many of the points I'm making, they're quite repetitive. That's why I'm hoping you'll get a real taste for how Arabic works within the Qur'an, which you can take away to your other studies. Sometimes in Arabic, you will refer to an entity through an action. You'll say, for example, this man's knowledgeable, but that man, he's knowledge. What do you mean? There's no comparison. It's like he's got so much knowledge, he's knowledge itself. So this describing entities through actions is quite a frequent form of emphasis within the Qur'an. And you see one of them right here. The Qur'an, it's so almost like fresh from God. It so speaks to you of it's coming from God. It's as if it's the very act of coming itself. Like when you open the book, in your hand is the coming right now from God. When you recite, it's the coming from God right now. It's so fresh, so connected, so incredible. It's like it is the sending down itself, not just the thing sent. So this is again a form of emphasis of what the book is and how it's experienced. It is the coming down of Al-Aziz and Ar-Rahim, two of the names of God. So this very powerful beginning of the surah has started by talking about Yaseen. This surah has been composed of the letters you compose your speech of. So why don't you match it if you can? It's this incredible preserved recital full of incredible content. So you've praised the Quran through its composition. We've praised the Quran through its content. Now we're praising the Quran because of whose it is, whose Quran it is. They call it in the phraseology of Abu Saud, Fakhama Idafiya now. It's greatness because of who it's connected to, the greatness of God himself. And the two traits of God that are highlighted, again, they'll be leaving their traces throughout the verses of the surah. The two names of God, one name of majesty, one name of beauty, Al-Aziz and Ar-Rahim. Al-Aziz is the invincible. They say Al-Ghalib alladhi la yughlab, the one who overcomes and no one will ever overcome him. And if he wants to do something, it's going to happen. It's the mighty and the invincible. And the Rahim, the one who's ever showing his kindness, his mercy, his loving care. And you'll find both of these images and themes throughout now, the whole surah, because the introduction of the surah is setting the scene for all of it, as we will see. And it's incredibly clear how it connects. If the one who sent it is the invincible, if the one who sent it is the all-lovingly kind, that's what the book represents. Whoever opens up to the book has opened themselves up not just to a hikmah, a way to live and perceive the world, putting everything where it fits, but they've opened themselves up to the ever-expressed, everlasting, ever-embracing, warm mercy of God. And whoever battles the book, opposes the book, attempts to silence the book should know this is the book of the invincible. So the book is invincible. You will never silence it, and the only one who will be frustrated with all of those efforts will be you. So watch out. So a real setting again of wow. Take this book carefully, guys. Tanzeel al-Aziz al-Rahim. The last thing to point out, in the recital we have here of Hafs, it's Tanzila with a fatha. In Arabic, this means it's the object of a verb, and the implied verb is what many scholars say is the verb of praise. I magnify, I hold up this beautiful or this coming down. So if you want to bring all the verses we've seen together, so I don't have them all on one slide, but you can see how it comes together now. Yaseen, I swear by that recital full of wisdom, verily you surely are from those who were sent by God. You are firmly footed on an incredible path that goes straight to Allah. What an incredible coming down this book is from the Almighty and All Merciful. So you can see we've magnified the Qur'an, magnified thereby the Prophet, and went back to the Qur'an again to show this sort of unity, the book and the messenger, the book and the messenger. The book confirms the messenger. The messenger's path is the best possible path. And what is that path? It's the path of that incredible book. So Tanzila is just praise. Wow, that incredible coming down of the mighty. So what is all of this for? Again, scene setting. All of this is for this reason. Li is to give a reason. In order that, that's where that comes from. Li tundhira, that you might give a warning. Indhar, the Prophet ﷺ gives good news and he gives a warning. And you're going to see right now good news and warning in this introduction to the surah, these first few verses. But the first job he's been given here is indhar. What does indhar mean? What is the warning? They say indhar means to inform people about something, to frighten them. That's what warning means. It's not good for you guys. So give people some information, to frighten them about it, that they really have got to take it seriously, and to give them time to do something about it. It's not a warning if you say, guys, the flood's coming, and then we all die in a flood. That's not a warning. I just told you the flood's coming. A warning is, guys, there's a flood coming, let's get out of here. That's a warning. So the Prophet ﷺ's come for indhar. Give them something is coming. They should really take it seriously and be worried about what it means. And they have time to do something about it. And you're doing it to a people. This is indefinite, not to magnify, it's a particular people. The original people of this address in the Meccan phase was the people of the Prophet ﷺ. The Qur'an started with the da'wah to a family, a large family, a tribe. This Prophet has come from among you. He's your nephew, he's your cousin, he's your in-law, he's your neighbor. You know him, you knew his dad, you knew his granddad, you know all that's going on. You are the people first. I want you guys to think about this first. So it started with this family, and most of them didn't take it as they should, as we'll see. And then the message extended, and then it extended to cover the world. But it starts like this. And that's how many scholars interpreted the qawm, as the qawm is Quraysh. And what's the description of this qawm? مَا أُنذِرَ آبَاؤُهُم. Their fathers were not warned. Some, just to give an indication, some scholars speak about sounds when they think about tafsir as well, but this is less so in the classical discipline. But in modern writings, because tafsir is an ongoing science of exploring the force, if you like, of the Quranic message. So in this ongoing science, one thing that people are talking about more is about sounds. So you can think of the sounds of their fathers were not warned. Look at this. مَا أُنذِرَ آبَاؤُهُم. It's like, no, their fathers all the way back were not told about this. The people of Quraysh, who's the last prophet that's come to them? It's Ismail, the son of Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam. It's over 2,000 years before. They've got little remnants of the teachings of Abraham. They have Hajj. They have some remnants. They have a few people who are trying to stick to whatever they might have. But as a people, as a teaching, what's the consequences of turning away from the millah of Abraham? There's nothing. So you've come to refresh something. Their fathers have not been told until way back. And that's why these people are ghafilun. In Arabic, ghufl is a description of land which has no markers. There's no road, there's no pavement, there's no boundaries of ownership. It's unmarked. You might speak to a kitab, which is ghufl, an unmarked book. So a person who's ghafil is just unmarked. He's got no connection, no knowledge at all of what you're talking about. So that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, I've sent this incredible recital with this most perfectly footed, treading messenger, with the most unbelievable coming down to warn these people, because they need to be warned. Now we're going to see a small switch. What did I say? We'll do 5 more minutes. If I can go quickly a little bit, I just want to grab the imagery. I'm going to try and do is maybe go quick, just to get the image of what, because the next few verses all come together with one image. What's the image? Let me just summarize it. It's that some people believe in the book and some people fight it. And what the Quran often emphasizes is the people who are fighting the book, fighting the messenger, acting proud, thinking, well, I'm not being destroyed, the earth not swallowing me, ha ha ha, you're this and you're that. They would mock him, they would make him names, they would do all sorts. And because they had indhar, they had time, and they thought this time would extend. So what the Quran is keen to emphasize is that these people aren't somehow thwarting God's plan. God's not saying, please come, and they're somehow ruining the plan of God. God is saying, no, 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 you're not ruining my plan. My plan is invincible. You're just ruining yourselves, and I don't need you anyway. And you know what? You're not going to believe. I'm not even begging anything from you. It's part of the most forceful images of the Holy Quran is the freedom of need of God, of everybody. And the way this imagery comes, that's what I just want to emphasize, is that at times the Quran emphasizes people's choices. الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا, those who decided to reject. وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا, those who have chosen to believe. And sometimes it looks at their consequences, each to emphasize either if you choose good, you'll get good, or to emphasize that if you choose bad, you're not hurting me at all. I don't need you. And so what you're going to see now, if you just go quickly through the verses, just so we can get this section done in our time, we can reflect then why the Quran does it like that. So it says here, it's a statement of almost of destiny about the disbelievers. We'll see how it's working. It says, laqad, just to say briefly, I swear, surely, the word, this is the word of destiny, the word has proved true and fitting. So I'll say it's fitting as well, not just it's true. Sorry, my English is not that good in handwriting. The word is fitting, it's appropriate. The word has appropriately come true for most of them, and that's what they don't believe. Many scholars interpret this word as the promise of God to the devil. The devil said, I will lead all of them astray, and God says back to him, لَمَنْ تَبِعَكَ مِنْهُمْ لَأَمْلَأَنَّ جَهَنَّمَ مِنْكَ لَأَمْلَأَنَّ جَهَنَّمَ مِنْكَ وَمِمَّنْ تَبِعَكَ مِنْهُمْ أَجْمَعِينَ. God says, I swear, I will fill hell with you and all of those who follow you. And so affirming their choice, and this is how Shaykh al-Islam Abu Saud emphasizes his discussion of this passage. They chose to follow, and so it's only fitting and true and just and unchangeable that promise of God at the beginning of man will come true for these people. And that's why you're not going to find them believing, because they've run off after the devil. And then the surah will then give the most incredible imagery of what these people are like. If you choose to run off after the devil, this is what your state really is. Inna ja'alna fi anaqihim aghlalan. Verily we, in our majesty, doubt it not, we have placed firm in their necks aghlal. These are fetters, chains. These chains in the imagery are in the neck, which means that it's a really tight chain. فَهِيَ إِلَى الْأَذْقَانِ, and they're very vast chains. That's why a small chain, I can see this, but a vast chain pushes my chin up. It's a wide chain, tight in the neck, pushing the chin up. فَهُمْ مُقْمَحُونَ, and so their heads are raised up. They say qamaha is the word originally for a camel that raises its head up and doesn't lower its head to drink. What's the Quran saying? What's the imagery? It's saying as follows. These people who mock you, it's what I've called the sorry image of the arrogant. They puff themselves up with pride. They say, who are you to the Prophet and the believers? And who are we to sit with these former slaves? Who are these guys to think they're going to somehow be equal to us? And we're the rich and we're the powerful and we have the great tribes. Shut up, get lost, I'm going to kill you. Who do you think you are? They act proud, they puff their chests up, and Allah is saying, no, no. If you could see their real sorry state, that's what they are. When they surrendered to their lusts, when they surrendered to their egos, when they puffed themselves up with pride, they became enslaved to their bad choices, enslaved to these egos, that they're actually prisoners. They say aghlal or something, your hands are tied to the chin and your head is popped up, saying what? So they act proud, but if you were to see the reality, they're actually prisoners. They don't even know how to look down to learn from you. They don't know how to look even down to regard this book. They're like the camel that doesn't know how to come down to the water that's going to give it life. They are in prison. It's the paradox of the visible and the invisible. What the Quran is saying is, if you want to be free from all fetters, prostrate to God. Outwardly, you're a slave. Inwardly, you're free to really choose what's good for you. You act too proud to listen to the messengers. Outwardly, you're great. Inwardly, you're just a prisoner of these incredibly bad choices you've made. Look at this other image. وَجَعَلْنَا مِنْ بَيْنِ أَيْدِيهِمْ سَدًّا وَمِنْ خَلْفِهِمْ سَدًّا فَأَغْشَيْنَاهُمْ فَهُمْ لَا يُبْصِرُونَ. And we've placed min bayni aydihim. This means like immediately from among them, a sad, an impregnable barrier. You can't penetrate it. And immediately behind them, an impregnable barrier. فَأَغْشَيْنَاهُمْ. And we've covered them because this barrier is so tall and they're standing like this and the barriers are so surrounding. They can't even see what's in front of them. And barrier, what does a barrier do? You can't even walk forwards. And they're covered by these walls, so they can't see anything. So what's the Quran saying? It's that these guys made these bad choices. They followed the devil. They followed the ego. They thought well of themselves. They looked down on others. And Allah is saying to the Prophet, no, and the believers, don't think your book is not clear, that's why they don't believe. Don't think you haven't done your job, that's why they don't believe. Allah is saying, no, the book is clear. And your path is great, O Prophet. What you're doing is perfect. These people have done something that they are incapable of seeing what's in front of their noses. They're incapable of it. They chose to follow the devil, and my promise came true against them. And now they're stuck in this image. They can't walk on the path. You can walk freely on the path, but they've got the walls in front of them. And then it says that statement of fact. It doesn't matter now for them whether you give the warning or not, they're not going to believe. Why is it being said in such a way? It's to give the Prophet ﷺ some sense of peace because he loved these people. He was deeply concerned about these people. The Quran often tells him, don't kill yourself over them. Don't have this remorse over them. Just calm down. Your job is just to convey. It doesn't, you will get the reward for your conveying. But there are some people between me and them, they've turned away from me and I'm not going to turn towards them. It's not for you to worry about that. And that's why it's giving him some sense of peace. Don't give too much energy, because the Prophet ﷺ wanted these very big chieftains to believe, because then everyone would believe. But the chieftains were the leaders of the kufr. And Allah is saying, I know you want that, but don't worry about it. They've received the message. Don't be pained, don't be hurt. My plan will come true. My book is invincible. And this turning away of these people is part of the invincible nature of the book. And then it says, rather, and we'll just stop here, the last verse I want to cover because it finishes that package. The only ones who your warning will produce an effect. And so these are the effects that you will be seeing and looking for, is whoever ittaba'a, closely follows. It's quite an emphatic word, not just tabi'a, but closely tries to follow the dhikr. The word dhikr literally means remembrance. We do dhikr of Allah, subhanallah, subhanallah, subhanallah. We use the tongue, but the tongue isn't what dhikr means. Dhikr means the heart has remembered, the mind has remembered. Internally, you've remembered something. We call the thing of the tongue dhikr because it's the means to remind the heart. The heart is the dhikr. And dhikr is a name Allah gave the Qur'an, the Tawrat, and the Injil. They've all been called dhikr because they remind people of what they need to know. And again, it's another instance of a verbal, an action describing an entity. The book reminds you as if it's remembrance itself. Why does the Quran call its message and its book remembrance? To indicate that it's conveying you things that you know, or it's conveying you things which are so familiar to your subconscious, or they feel so right to your innate nature, they feel like a long forgotten message which has come back to you. So if you realize this book is reminding something that speaks to your nature, speaks to what feels right in the soul that's opened its heart up, and then you try to follow it and understand it and appreciate it and step according to it, this warning will give great fruits to you. And it's saying the Prophet ﷺ, these are the people. They closely follow the dhikr. وَخَشْيَ الرَّحْمَنَ بِالْغَيْبِ. Khashiyah is an interesting word. It actually implies this most incredible fear, this most incredible, some people call it awestruck dread. They say it's used to describe a tree that's kind of dried up of its moisture. It's kind of like something struck it. What's it referring to? It's referring to this sense of the majesty of God. These are people, they really have respect for God. They really have reverence for God. In the other words of the Holy Qur'an, إِذَا ذُكِرَ اللَّهُ وَجِلَتْ قُلُوبُهُمْ. When the word Allah is mentioned, their hearts tremble. They really feel, wow, this is God. And look at the emphasis of who they have this awe from. It's the Rahman, the ever merciful, the ever kind, the ever gifting. Because most people on earth take the gifts of God for granted. I'm breathing now, I'm always going to breathe. I don't have to think about it. I'm thinking now, I'm always going to think. I'm speaking, I'm always going to speak. I'm going to have a roof, I'm always going to have a roof. So the gifts of God distract them. But the people who've turned themselves to God, the gifts for God remind them of God. And his gifts fill them up with awe from him, for him who's giving them the gifts. So the gifts don't distract. The gifts of God remind them of him and of what they owe him of thanks. And that fills them up with the awe of God. So there's two things then the Quran is saying. Who are the people that benefit from this reminder of the Prophet ﷺ? They appreciate the Quran is reminding them of what speaks to their nature, and they want to follow it closely, and they've directed their hearts to the majesty of God, and even his gifts draw them back to him. And this Rahman is unseen. So they're not like the people who insist on only caring about what they can see with their eyes and only caring about the horizon of themselves. These are people who can go beyond the self to see what is truly great. And the only one that's truly great is God. So if the Quran has given two descriptions of these people, you know what the other people are like. The people who we just read about in 4 verses, where the Quran is saying the Prophet, don't worry about them, don't be stressed about them, you've done your job. They are just not going to believe, they've chosen not to, and they're stuck prisoners of their whim. What are they prisoners to? They don't have these two traits. They don't want to be reminded. They don't have any horizon other than themselves, such that they could contemplate that the giver of gifts is an awesome being. These are people who don't want to follow anything that reminds what's good for them. They just want to follow themselves, lusts, slaves. So you can see this parallel. If you want to be a slave to lust, if you want your horizon to be only your own, know that you are nothing but a prisoner of these incredibly bad choices. You think you're bigger than others, but really you're the prisoner and they're the free men. Who are the free men? Who have these two traits. So the Prophet ﷺ given his other job. He has to warn and give good tidings. These are the people of good tidings. Give them great good news. Of what? Again, these are indefinites, like I saw earlier, the indefinite noun to show something great. Give them the news of an incredible forgiveness, a huge forgiveness. Forgiveness meaning a covering over of anything wrong that they've done. If that's their trait, O Prophet, give them the good news of an obliterating forgiveness. It will cover everything. It's huge in its consequence. وَأَجْرٍ, and a wage. The reward Allah gives his servants, he calls it a wage, and that's from his kindness. Why? To say, you guys deserved it. You know, you guys are good. You did some honest hard work. You deserve what I'm going to give you. We don't really deserve it. These are all gifts from God, but this is his language with us. This is the Rahim speaking through his book. He wants us to feel good. He wants us to say, you've done well, and I'm going to make sure you get what you deserve. Don't think anything you've done has gone to waste. It's a huge wage. It's Kareem. Kareem means the best of its type, the best possible wage. So we'll stop there. Sorry, I have gone a bit on, and I know the Maghrib Adhan basically has happened. I'll take cues from my moderator there's only one question my moderator shared. So what I prefer to do is, again, I apologize for going all the way to Maghrib. I'll try to control the presentation because obviously from next week we'll need time to prepare for the fast. I hope this has been useful and beneficial. The recording will be available, inshallah. You can listen to it again. You can take notes. You can ask questions. And inshallah, we'll find a way to answer them either here within the video, or we'll find a way to share it with you through another medium. And I just wish to conclude that you can see how the scene has been set so powerfully of the book, the messenger, and what we need to benefit from it. And if people are fighting it, despite what they know about it, then Allah is telling the believers, don't worry about it. It's not that nothing is clear. They're slaves to something else. You guys carry on. And your good news is great. So be happy with that. Be happy. You have to be, the bushra means good news that's so good that your happiness shows on your skin, because the skin in Arabic is bashara. So it's good news that's so good, even your skin is glowing, you're so happy. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants the believers to be happy with what they have and what they're being promised by this man who's surely from the messengers, as we start our next stories. وصلى تعالى على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. I'll just answer one question, and then inshallah the rest we'll reach out to find a way to convey these answers to you. Just one question here. If we could hear a little about how the sounds of Arabic affect the physiology, and each letter may have a meaning in and of themselves. Yeah, that's a huge question. I can't actually answer it. You have very interesting fields of Arabic where scholars study how sometimes words have same meanings even if you jumble up the letters. Wasala, salawa. Sometimes if you jumble up letters, meanings are shared, which means that letters have some share in meaning. Sometimes if two letters are shared and a new one comes on the end, all the meanings are shared. Falaha, falaqa, falaja, and a few others of that sort. So yes, there are theories of the meanings of letters and the powers of sounds. Like I said, there is a mystery about Arabic speech. So you get people, I don't know, you have to Google this stuff. They recite Qur'an to water and they see crystals in the water. So it's an ongoing study of Arabic, sounds, letters, and how all of this comes together for one purpose or for one effect, which is the effect on the human heart. That's all I can say. So I can say, yes, there are people talking about these, and it's not in my knowledge to be able to talk further in these areas. So again, my apologies to you. I'm looking to just come out of this. I've been looking at my my slides there. I thank you all very, very much for your time. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless us all in this blessed month, make us a month of connection to Him, to His book, a connection to each other, because fasting is this amazing thing. Although it's happening in our corner of the room, we're just fasting, there's something in the energy of fasting that brings people together always. So I ask Allah to make us feel together, connected, whether it's through these lessons or through just prayers for each other. We pray for each other, pray for the Muslims, pray for the people in the world when we break our fast, in our night prayer. Ramadan is a gathering month, whether we're in our homes, whether we're in the mosques, or wherever we are. So we ask Allah to gather our hearts together, remove from us in this beautiful month any feelings of unpleasantness towards each other, make it a month of the healing of souls, the bringing together of communities, and we raise our prayers to Allah to lift from us the afflictions, the difficulties that have come to us, the entire planet really, in this time that we have. Please keep us in your prayers, inshallah, and please feel free to share questions, maybe through the Facebook or the Instagram where the announcement was shared, and we'll find a way to address your questions. Bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, and inshallah we will see you all bi'idhnillahi ta'ala next week. And inshallah we'll come back to the questions, is all I'd say. We didn't answer all of them, but they have not been lost, inshallah, and we will find a way. Wish you all the best, and keep us in your prayers. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.